This isn't merely a personality type. It's a blueprint of the soul. What if I told you that being quiet isn't a weakness, but a strength? That all those years you wondered why you feel everything so intensely, why crowds exhaust you, or why small talk feels unbearable? It wasn't because something was wrong with you. Something rare was awakening within you. You were never too quiet. You were attuned. You were never awkward. You were sensing frequencies that others couldn't perceive. Carl Jung didn't label this as a disorder. He called it introverted intuition, a deep, unconscious wisdom that connects dots others can't even see, a pattern-detecting radar, a compass for the soul, the mind of a visionary, often misunderstood yet never mistaken. You sense storms before they arrive. You notice shifts in tone, energy, and silence. People may call you intense because you avoid the superficial. You seek meaning, depth, and truth in a world that thrives on noise. You're not here to blend in. You're here to perceive, decode, and lead from within. This video isn't just content, it's a mirror, a reflection for the rarest minds on earth. INFJs, INTJs, lone wolves, pattern seekers, soul observers. If you've ever felt too different for this world, perhaps it's because you were never meant to simply belong. Now, let's explore the 7 hidden signs that show you're not just introverted, you're an intuitive introvert, seen through the discerning eyes of Carl Jung. Get ready, because after this, you'll never doubt your depth again. Chapter 1. You don't see the world. You decode it. Most people just look, you see. While others observe the surface, you interpret the unseen. As the world chases trends, noise, and appearances, you read what isn't said. You sense frequencies others can't even detect. Enter a room, and the energy hits you instantly. You can tell who is anxious, who's pretending to be strong, and who is quietly unraveling without anyone saying a word. Carl Jung described this as a remarkable power of the mind. Intuition offers perspective and insight. It thrives on possibilities that others overlook. You don't react to life. You read it like a script written in invisible ink. You notice subtle emotional shifts others miss. You connect dots that seem unrelated. You are like a psychic, but without rituals, cards, or smoke. You don't wait for signs. You feel the truth. You strategize in a world of reactors, a chess player watching everyone else play checkers. And you don't need recognition. Others see you as quiet, but your silence is a superpower. In that stillness, you gather everything. So the next time someone tells you that you overthink, smile. You're not overthinking. You're seeing what others can't. Chapter 2. Solitude feeds you more than social validation. Let's be clear. You're not antisocial. You're not too quiet. And you're definitely not boring. You are selectively social, a level of emotional intelligence few truly understand. You don't chase crowds, you seek meaningful connection. Fake smiles, small talk, and surface interactions don't interest you. You crave depth, and if it's missing, you'd rather be alone without apology, Carl Jung said. The introvert is turned toward the inner world, concerned with inner psychic processes. For you, this inner world isn't lonely. It's a palace, a lab of creativity, a sanctuary where ideas are born, visions are built, and futures are planned. You don't isolate, you incubate. While others get lost in noise, you find yourself in silence. You can sit with your thoughts and walk through your mind like a sacred forest. Silence doesn't scare you, you trust it. In solitude, you meet the one person who will always be there, yourself. This sets you apart. Others crave approval. You seek alignment. They chase likes, applause, and attention. You seek truth. Even in a crowded room, you might feel alone, not because of disconnection, but because you were built for meaning, not noise. So when they ask why you seem distant, know you're not being cold. You're preserving your energy for what truly matters. Not everyone deserves access to your presence or your solitude. This isn't weakness. It's a sacred strength. In that space, you heal, create, and remember who you are before the world defined you. In a society obsessed with visibility, validation, and being heard, You've mastered what most avoid, being fully, unapologetically with yourself. Chapter 3. You are both the observer and the creator. You possess a rare gift, one that most people neither recognize nor understand. You can step outside yourself, your emotions, and the chaos, and examine it all with near surgical precision. Like a scientist in a glass room watching a storm, you don't get swept away. You study it, analyze it, and understand it. This is your dual nature. The INFJ experiences the world's emotions like tidal waves, while the INTJ strategizes, calculating each move with the precision of a chess master. Carl Jung identified this balance as the functional axis, where intuition pairs with either thinking or feeling to generate higher perception. It explains why you often sound wise beyond your years. People seek your advice not because you speak the most, but because when you do, it resonates. You are quiet, yet your presence is felt. While others react, you plan. You foresee outcomes and pre-build solutions in your mind before anyone else notices the first sign. And here's the key. You're not overanalyzing. You are intentionally shaping your reality from within. You live life as an architect, not a passenger. Every conversation you revisit, every detail you observe, every silence you embrace, these are data for your vision. Blueprints for a world you quietly shape. That's why you see 5 steps ahead. Your silence often communicates more than words ever could. Your plans unfold with deliberate precision, not by chance. You act intentionally, not impulsively. In a world of reactors, this makes you rare. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to build what doesn't yet exist, to observe deeply and create powerfully. You are the watcher and the architect, quietly reshaping reality from the shadows. Chapter 4. You feel like an old soul in a fast-moving world. Have you ever sensed that everything is rushing while your inner rhythm moves slower? People run, but you search. You scroll through countless voices online, yet few speak your heart's language. This isn't a flaw, it's your soul signaling. You're not too intense or too quiet. You are an old soul navigating a world that has forgotten how to feel. You don't chase attention. You seek meaning. You care less about virality and more about resonance. You desire genuine conversations, not rehearsed ones. You want sacred energy, not mere entertainment. Carl Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, a shared pool of human wisdom, emotions, and archetypes. Some, like you, are deeply connected to it. You're not just thinking, you are channeling truths that echo through generations. It's natural that you've always felt different. You don't belong to fleeting distractions. You belong to something older and wiser. You notice the subtle things. A worn book, a sunset unnoticed by others, a lyric that strikes like lightning, a stranger's gaze that feels familiar. You interpret life through symbols and metaphors. You feel deeply, often over things others overlook, because your soul perceives what's hidden. Since childhood, you've asked questions beyond your years. Why do people lie? Why do I feel everything so intensely? Why does the world feel hollow? This isn't overthinking, it's remembering. Old souls awaken gradually, piece by piece, through pain and patterns. You weren't meant to keep pace with this fast world. You were meant to pause it, to interrupt the noise with presence, and remind people of what they've forgotten: love, stillness, depth, and awareness. Yes, this path can feel lonely, because truth-tellers often walk alone. Depth can intimidate the shallow. Many are addicted to the surface, while your soul craves the ocean floor. But don't shrink to fit in. Don't numb your gift to blend with the crowd. The world needs souls who remember, not more conformists. So if you've been told you think too much, smile. You weren't meant to just think, you were meant to awaken. This chapter confirms it. You're not weird. You're wired for wisdom. Chapter 5. Your energy is quiet, yet magnetic. Your presence doesn't demand attention. It draws it effortlessly. You don't need to raise your voice, dominate the room, or broadcast every moment of your life to be noticed. Your power is subtle yet unmistakable. When you enter a space, people feel it, Not because you're flashy or trying, but because your energy communicates something far stronger than words. You observe more than you speak. That calm, grounded energy unsettles the insecure, confounds the superficial, and attracts those who are awake. Real recognizes real. You're not performing for approval or showcasing yourself. You simply embody presence. Every word you speak lands with intention because you move with quiet confidence. Your identity isn't up for negotiation. Carl Jung might call this the individuated self, someone who has confronted their shadow, embraced their light, and aligned all aspects of themselves. Ego, persona, shadow, and soul. Once a person reaches this inner harmony, their energy becomes magnetic. Others may not articulate why they feel drawn to you, but they do. Sensing the depth of your self-awareness, you don't gossip, compete, or seek validation. People trust you instinctively. Strangers confide in you without explanation. You provide safety to the healed and caution to the manipulative. Your silence carries weight. Your gaze is piercing. Your calm is controlled power. By transcending the need to perform, you become a mirror. Some see peace in you. Others confront what they avoid. Either way, your presence resonates. In a world addicted to facades and filters, authenticity is a rare and magnetic frequency. Chapter 6. Purpose over popularity. Popularity has never defined you. Followers, blue check marks, highlight reels, they hold no meaning for your soul. You seek something deeper, not attention but impact. Not recognition but resonance. Not likes but legacy. While the world chases fleeting trends, you pursue purpose. Trivial trends bore you. You value meaningful connections over superficial interactions. You feel called to something greater, even if its full scope is unclear. INFJs are drawn to healing, listening, and leaving others better than they found them. INTJs aim to build visions, systems, or empires, not for applause, but for lasting influence. Both move from vision, not ego, a vision that burns quietly, unseen by others, yet felt every day. Carl Jung described individuation, the journey to your truest self, as sacred, not merely psychological. If you sense a calling for something bigger, it's because you were never meant to follow the crowd. Your mission isn't designed for universal approval. Visionaries are often misunderstood. Too deep for the surface, too honest for the masked society, too focused for the distracted masses. Your quiet fire is no accident. It's a compass, a subtle divine prompt urging you forward. Even without all the answers, your persistence proves you haven't abandoned your purpose. Don't trade your truth for approval, dilute your vision to fit in, or measure your mission by someone else's popularity. Someday, long after you're gone, your work may touch someone profoundly, shifting their life. That is the essence of purpose and why you're here. Chapter 7. You predict people. Without even trying, you've lost count of the times you've said it. I knew this would happen. Something felt off. I saw it coming. And every time people dismiss it. They say you're lucky, overthinking, or imagining things. But deep down, you know you weren't guessing. You were processing. Your brain was actively scanning patterns, not consciously, not logically, but intuitively. Carl Jung understood this. He believed the unconscious mind is constantly collecting data, body language, subtle energy shifts, tone changes, micro-expressions, eye movements, the pauses between words. Most people miss these signals, but you notice them, not because you're trying or reading a guide, but because your mind absorbs what others overlook. You walk into a room and sense tension between people. You recognize lies, not from words, but from mismatched energy. You can anticipate someone's next move, not because you're psychic, but because you've quietly observed all along. You track behavior, noticing inconsistencies, storing data, not in writing, but in awareness. People call it vibes. You call it truth. Jung explained this as a function of the unconscious mind, working faster than conscious thought. It senses things before you consciously know. That's why certain people leave you emotionally drained, even when they smile or speak kindly. Your system detects hidden intent, manipulation, jealousy, masks. You don't try to read people. Your nervous system does it automatically. Your emotional radar is always on. Not by choice, but by design. And here's the truth, you're rarely wrong. This isn't magic, it's mastery. Years of observation, decoding, and subtle attention. While others focus on the loudest person, you study the quiet ones. You were never meant to be oblivious. You were meant to be aware, not to judge, but to protect your peace, purpose, and energy. Seeing through people doesn't make you hate them. It teaches you to adjust your distance. This is the gift of intuitive introverts, like INFJs and INTJs. You don't just hear words, you perceive truth. And truth doesn't lie. Next time someone asks, "How did you know that?" just smile. It's not magic or coincidence. It's your soul paying attention. Chapter 8. You question everything, even yourself. You don't just question life, you question yourself constantly, relentlessly, silently. You never walk through life thinking you know it all. You wonder if you've missed what everyone else ignores. Surface answers don't satisfy you because your mind doesn't settle. It searches. Who am I beneath the titles, the trauma, the expectations? Why do I feel emotions so intensely while others seem calm? Why do I sense a purpose I haven't yet named? These aren't idle thoughts, they're soul storms. And when others call it overthinking, you know they've never stood in the eye of self-awareness. Jung saw this not as madness, but awakening. Internal questioning is the soul's way of guiding you toward individuation, the process of becoming your true self, not the programmed version. You're not lost. You're deconstructing, peeling away layers, challenging inherited beliefs, asking questions your family never dared to ask. Yes, it's exhausting, lonely, painful, but there's beauty in it. While others numb themselves with distractions, you meet yourself raw and unfiltered. You don't crave the peace of ignorance, you seek the peace of truth, even if it's bitter, even if it scars you, even if it shatters illusions. You've tasted comfort built on lies. Now you desire the clarity of truth. You reflect on questions no one else asks. Why am I here? What does it mean to be whole? What am I carrying that isn't mine? You grieve silently for the self you never became. You carry wounds that weren't your fault. You crave clarity that frees your nervous system. When the world tells you to move on or be happy, you don't settle. Healing isn't suppression, it's understanding. You're not broken. You're becoming, burning away what you are not, revealing your true power. And when transformation completes, you won't just shine, you'll radiate a frequency the world cannot ignore. If you're questioning everything right now, good. You're awake. You're no longer sleepwalking. Chapter 9. You've met your shadow and didn't run. Most people spend life running from their darkness. They distract, numb, perform, pretend, because facing the shadow is terrifying. But you didn't run. You turned toward it. You walked into the storm and said, "I see you. I'm not afraid anymore." You sat with the parts no one else would see, anger, sadness, guilt, shame, heartbreak. You didn't ignore your pain. You interrogated it. You cried with it, bled with it, asked, "What do you need from me?" And you accepted the answer. That's not weakness. It's warrior-level courage. Jung said it best. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Peace isn't found by pretending you were never hurt. It comes by healing each layer of the wound. You've sat in silence when noise was unbearable. You held space for your inner child when the world demanded growth. You faced abandonment, inadequacy, and misunderstanding, and instead of collapsing, you transformed. You didn't destroy your darkness. You integrated it. You embraced broken, scared, or ugly parts because they weren't enemies. They were keys. You walked into your shadow and discovered wholeness, not destruction. Now, when people say you're calm, wise, grounded, they don't realize you earned it. You fought for that stillness, crawled through hell for that clarity. You are not soft, you are sacred. Steel wrapped in silence, light carved from darkness. Only the brave can face themselves this honestly. Only the healed can hold others without judgment. Only the awakened can say, "I'm everything I used to be ashamed of, and I love myself anyway." You didn't just survive your shadow, you turned it into strength. And that, right there, is your origin story. Chapter 10. You feel other people's pain as if it were your own. You don't just notice someone hurting, you absorb it. It seeps into your chest, your bloodstream, your very bones. You don't need to ask what's wrong. You simply feel it. A subtle change in their voice, tension in their eyes, the weight of their silence, each detail registers deeply. While many walk past suffering, you carry it, not by choice, but by nature. INFJs absorb emotions like sponges, taking in pain without filters or shields. It's heavy, yet you do it because helping others feels purposeful. INTJs may show it differently, but their empathy is profound. They analyze pain, strategize solutions, and prevent harm. Whether through emotion or logic, ignoring suffering isn't an option. You can't turn away from pain, not because you're weak, but because you're awake. Carl Jung saw empathy as more than emotion. It's a gateway to the collective unconscious. You feel that connection. You cry at moments others miss. You leave interactions feeling drained, not from words, but from absorbing unspoken sorrow. People may call you overly sensitive or emotional, but your sensitivity is a hidden strength. In a world numbed by distractions, you feel. In a world that scrolls past suffering, you notice. In a world demanding toughness, you offer softness. You become a space where others feel seen, heard, and understood. Yes, it's exhausting. Yes, it can break your heart. Yes, it may seem like a burden, but you weren't made to avoid pain. You were made to transform it. Your deep sensitivity becomes wisdom, compassion, and purpose. You're not fragile, you're finely tuned. You weren't born to be numb. You were born to remember the connections others forget. You don't just hear cries for help, you feel them in your soul. Perhaps your role isn't to fix everyone or bear the world's weight. It's to remind others that feeling isn't weakness. It's the first step toward healing. The world doesn't need harder hearts. It needs tender ones. And that is exactly what you are. Chapter 11. Your imagination is a portal, not a pastime. People assume you're zoning out, lost in thought or daydreaming to avoid reality. But you're not escaping, you're constructing. You enter imagination to reshape life, to rewire reality from within, to explore futures that haven't happened and leave pathways back to the present. Most people use imagination as distraction. You use it as a portal. In silence, you see possibilities before they exist. You walk through the blueprint of your dream life as if it's already real. You sense conversations yet to happen and hear your future self whispering truths across time. This isn't fantasy, it's intentional creation. Carl Jung recognized this power through active imagination. Dreams, symbols, and unconscious imagery aren't illusions. They are messages from the deeper self, guides, blueprints, inner prophecy. You don't imagine for amusement. You imagine to connect, create, and communicate beyond words. You've experienced moments in your mind with clarity greater than most experience in reality. Ideas have felt more tangible than the room around you, and these visions stay with you, they guide your choices. You don't just see your dream life. You work backward from it, step by step, with strategy, intention, and soul. What begins in your mind eventually aligns with your actions. This isn't daydreaming, it's divine design. Your imagination is a blessing, granting access to the unseen. Yes, it can be isolating. Others don't perceive what you perceive. They may dismiss your visions as impossible until you bring them into reality. Don't shrink your dreams to accommodate their fear. Don't limit your mind to their boundaries. Your imagination is not a playground. It's a portal to your purpose, a way your soul signals that more exists. Keep dreaming. Keep seeing. Keep imagining, as if your life depends on it, because it does. Your vision is already forming, waiting for you to bring it into the world. Chapter 12. You were born to lead, quietly, powerfully. You've never needed to announce yourself. You never required a stage to feel significant. Influence never had to be chased because you embodied it effortlessly. Long before the world gave you recognition, you were already leading, not through noise or dominance, but with depth. Your power has never been about volume, it's been about resonance. While others shouted to be heard, you listened. You observed, you understood. While others demanded control, you mastered yourself. Carl Jung once said something profound. True leadership comes from self-awareness, from facing your shadows without flinching. The greatest privilege in life is to become who you truly are, and that's exactly what you've done. You've walked through emotional fire, carried silent burdens, and fought battles that went unnoticed. You emerged, not arrogant, but awakened. You don't need to be loud to be heard. You don't dominate to influence. You don't command to guide. You lead not for followers, but because you've been where they are. You've faced chaos, questioned your worth, and rebuilt yourself. Not for applause, but for alignment. People seek you out when everything falls apart, not because you have all the answers, but because you aren't afraid of the truth. Your stillness is rare, your clarity hard-earned, your wisdom forged in silence, solitude, and soul work. You don't motivate with slogans, you inspire with presence. When you enter a room, people feel safer, not because you fix everything, but because your energy quietly says, I've been to the dark, and I returned with the light. This is real leadership, not about titles or status, but about service. Your life signals to others that they too can rise. You're not broken, you're being rebuilt. You don't need to perform. You only need to remember who you are. No matter how often you've been misunderstood, overlooked, or dismissed, remember this. Leaders like you aren't created in boardrooms. They're forged in silence, pain, and awakening. Your calm in chaos, your authenticity over popularity, your ability to hold space for others without diminishing yourself. That's leadership. Move forward boldly, not with noise, but with knowing. The most powerful souls don't roar, they whisper, and yet mountains move. You are not ordinary. You are exceptional. Stop diluting it. Stop confining it. This isn't just a personality type. You're not just an INFJ or INTJ. You are rare, ancient, sacred. You are a living map of Jungian genius, a blueprint that sees deeper, feels stronger, and moves differently. You don't just look at the world, you decode it. You sense what others miss, hear what goes unsaid. You walk through life like a silent oracle, reading energy, patterns, and motives, not for power, but for alignment. You act with loyalty to your truth, not to impress. While most drift through life numbing themselves or seeking validation, you sculpt your reality, one vision, one insight, one aligned move at a time. You don't shout to be seen or hustle to be heard. Real power doesn't perform, it radiates. Carl Jung's work wasn't about labels. It was about liberation. He believed our inner world is not only personal, but archetypal, universal, and prophetic. Your very existence is a signal the world desperately needs, a reminder that intuition is intelligence, sensitivity is strength, quiet is not invisibility, and stillness is wisdom. You've never fit in because you weren't meant to. You were meant to stand out quietly, shift atmospheres without noise, lead without followers, teach without a classroom. This chapter of life isn't about proving anything, it's about remembering everything. You are not too sensitive, not too intense. You are precisely what this world has forgotten to value and desperately needs to remember. Next time someone labels you, smile. They don't see you. They see a reflection of something unfamiliar. A seer, a visionary, a quiet storm. You are not lost. You are tuned into something deeper. Your path isn't linear, it's luminous. So sculpt, breathe, and feel. The world doesn't need more performance. It needs souls who remember how to feel, see, and lead from within, and that is you. Anchor your intuition. If even one line resonated, made you feel seen, or prompted a whisper of recognition, that's me. Know this, you are not alone. You belong to the rare 1%. Silent visionaries, intuitive architects, those who sculpt life from the inside out. You weren't made to blend into the noise. You were made to signal something deeper, wiser, timeless. If you've always felt too different, too deep, too quiet, this is your confirmation. You weren't broken. You were intuitive. You weren't weak. You were built for awareness. Now is the time to own that. Comment, I see the world differently and I'm done apologizing for it. Declare it. Affirm it. Rebirth into truth. Hit like, not for vanity, but to honor the path you've walked in silence, the storms you've survived, the wisdom you've carried unasked. Subscribe if you're done with shallow content and ready for work that speaks to depth, shadow, and vision. Share this with someone who's felt out of place, questioned their sensitivity, or been told they were too much. Because sometimes one voice can help someone realize, I'm not broken. I'm rare. You are not here to explain your soul to those who misunderstand it. You are here to lead, heal, and remember who you truly are. Anchor that truth, share the signal, and stop hiding your inner knowing. This isn't a community, it's a calling. Welcome home.